Hello everyone, and welcome to my first review that will hopefully be a series of reviewing the wrath&glory adventure bars, written works, rules, bits and bobs, starting with Litanies of the Lost, the Duty Beyond Death, so the first instalment. So for the players, you're in for a fun, engaged and sinister adventure full of clues, espionage, thrills and all-out fighting. There's a lot to this iceberg, so take your time, look around every corner carefully and leave no rock unturned. There's plenty of time for blams and gunshots later when you've worked out what exactly is going on. The price here in the UK worked out to be a solid 30-ish quid for the physical copy. A bargain, and the real champs at Cubicle 7 even threw in the first of 4 sections in as an immediate download, which I think is amazing. Anyways, if you mean to be a player and not a GM for this adventure, I'd tune out now. If you're either not too bothered about spoilers and are capable of avoiding metagaming, or you just plan on running it yourself, please feel free to listen on. Duty Beyond Death is the first instalment of Litany of the Lost, an adventure from Cubicle 7, and they've done really well. The idea of a spooky and atmospheric adventure in a manufactorum with sinister AI is a brilliant touch. The setting is detailed, and the NPCs introduced are full of character. It's a great start, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. It's chock full of gorgeous artwork that you can see on screen right now. So, I'm from a Pathfinder background, and because of this, I've been rather spoilt when it comes to what I call adventure paths, and the way in which wrath&glory paints them takes a lot of work for me to get around, particularly the lack of pre-written dialogue. This isn't necessarily a difficult thing for me to get over. I've written my fair share of homebrew adventure paths in my time, but it does require a lot of forward thinking, back-end preparation, and on-the-spot improvisation for the Dungeon Master, something not every DM is comfortable with. I think that's my only advice at this stage for newer DMs, just prepare yourself for any eventuality and conversation. I really love the idea of the manufacturer and productivity report. It's a nice bunch of handouts for my players who really love to explore. They're not your usual bunch of min-max murder hobos, well, not all of them anyway, so this edition is a nice touch. I really appreciate it. I'd recommend taking the time to get them written up and printed off if you're playing at a table, or online if you want them to hand in Roll20. Just keep them in the handouts tab and give them out of order. You could choose to read some out, but my players take things really seriously and like to write extensive notes, so that would just slow the build up of the atmosphere. So once I've read something out, I usually just hand it over anyway for them to keep. I do find quite the parallel to that of Darktide Sleepwalker module. The psychological thriller featured in an enclosed area with clues and random encounters, albeit the way in which the baddie is portrayed is different enough for it to not step dangerously close into the same territory. Darktides is another wrath&glory adventure but came pre-Cubicle 7 era. I do plan on doing a write-up of that too, considering all the adventures prior to Cubicle 7 are pretty compatible and playable. Not that there were many. One thing I do see as a shame is the lack of a full colour map. The Soulbound adventures come with some great colour maps in the book so far, and I'd love to see this attention to detail spent on wrath&glory as well. Don't get me wrong, love the green Auspex scan style one they've given us in the book. It does act as an in-game handout in section 3, and they've also handed it out separately as a higher resolution image if you have the pre-order PDF. But maybe it's the spoiled Pathfinder player in me that is just so used to receiving a full colour map with which to steer my players through. If they decided to bring this out separately as a folio in the future, I will definitely make the purchase. It just means that for now, I might have to improvise as best I can from other sources. Not the end of the world by any means, but a personal one for sure. So what are the pros? There's an excellent atmosphere and setting, the writing is top notch, the handouts for the productivity report is a genius addition to let players discover and piece together the story of what happened in the manufactorum, without some overbearing narration or dialogue. And the cons. So, lack of full colour and detailed map is a shame, and lack of dialogue can mean that a lot of improvisation and background work for DMs if they aren't used to it. Having to dart to and from the pages for relevant information can be a little bit annoying at times. Things like tracking random encounters and the minor and major manifestations. I'm a fan of the random encounters as it makes gameplay more dynamic, but in this one I think I'll choose when to add specific enemies in at certain points rather than flicking through the book to try and find everything at once, and yeah. My final conclusions. So Cubicle 7 have hit the ground running with this one. is atmospheric, dark and unique. The price tag is more than worth it, considering you get the first section of the adventure immediately via PDF and also get the updates as they finish the next sections. However, I would strongly suggest that DMs of this adventure bring their micromanaging A game and prepare in advance. I wouldn't say it was particularly forgiving for a new DM. Maybe it's me, so take it with a pinch of salt. I've been set in my ways for a bit and spoilt by Pathfinder's way of doing things, so it might be me who needs to work out the best way to approach it. Anyway, hope you like this and I hope you had fun.